Today on Race Day, the Cup stars head to the racy and fast 2-mile in Michigan. Gas cans and calculators in hand, we'll preview the 400-miler. Pennzoil World of Outlaws christening the fastest half-mile anywhere this weekend. We'll take you to Bristol for some high-banked action. A short track in Saturday for the NASCAR Busch Series stars. We'll see who can survive the slam-bam South Boston affair. And NASCAR's flatbedders do some high-speed hauling at Texas Motor Speedway Friday night. We'll see if Jumpin' Jack can make it 4 straight. The best dirt track late model runners anywhere dreaming about $100 grand last night at Eldora. Highlights from the dirt are straight ahead. And we're seeing clearly this Sunday morning. It's June 11th, 2000, and Race Day starts now. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Race Day. I'm Rick Benjamin. Great to be with you. Just flying in from Louisville, where we covered the ASA last night, the AC Delco Service Specialist 300. We'll have more on that in a moment. But we start with Winston Cup, NASCAR's big league tour, hitting the summer mid-season stretch. The sport's big stars setting the speed bar plenty high this weekend at the Michigan Speedway. If the past is any indication of what we might see today, Dale Jarrett has to be a favorite to win the Kmart 400. Last year, DJ ran away from the competition, led the final 150 laps, no cautions. But this weekend, Robert Yates' top team getting off on the wrong foot. Sean Pagano now to set the stage in the Irish Hills of Michigan.
The weekend started off rough for defending race winner Dale Jarrett. On Friday, the Yates Rocket was grounded after blowing an engine before even taking the green flag in qualifying.
Something happened to the engine going into turn 3. I felt it and just let go.
Behind the 8 ball, the 88 team rebounded by posting the fastest lap in second round qualifying. DJ, who over the last 4 years here in Michigan has an average finish of 4th. He'll roll off 26th today.
I can't stand here right now and tell you that we've got it totally figured out, but we have a good car.
Across the garage, Tony Stewart is getting back to the form that made him last year's Rookie of the Year. Last Sunday's win in Dover has the Home Depot crew working together more so than in recent weeks.
The guys are all pumped up again, and it looks like the team that I had last year as far as you know, everybody's attitudes and just you know, the way that everybody is working around the garage with each other. We're all smiling again, and that's something we haven't done very much this year.
Stewart's teammate Bobby Labonte shattered the qualifying record by over 1 mile an hour. Labonte is the 10th different pole winner in the first 14 events of 2000. Add to that his Michigan mastery, finishing in the top 10 in every race since 1996. Bobby Labonte is one of the guys that knows speed isn't the only key to getting around this track. Fuel has often been a factor in winning or losing a race here in Michigan. And with gas a major issue all across the U.S., here in Michigan, fuel management is at a premium.
We run 200 laps here, so you got to be able to go 50 or more so you could only be in 4-stop window. That's the key, but we've seen a lot of times the guys that get good fuel mileage, they can win the race here and not have the fastest car.
50 is a little bit of a stretch for us. There might be some that can do it pretty easy, but it's, for some reason, this place, you're just right there at that margin.
Bobby's good at the fuel mileage game. I'm terrible at the fuel mileage game. I don't know how to save fuel. I think a lot of it's just our driving styles is what's different. He's a right foot braker. I'm a left foot braker.
I noticed that in the Yates camp, they really don't look at the mileage thing as hard as that I've looked at it in the past, and I think that they, you know, they've got horsepower and they work hard on horsepower, and their theory and their philosophy is let's win it with horsepower.
Well, maybe Ricky Rudd can win it with fuel mileage today. He'll line up second alongside Bobby Labonte. The field takes the green at 1 o'clock Eastern today. Jeff Gordon with a good qualifying run third. Bobby Labonte's track record just a tick under 190. Second 10 looks like this. Johnny Benson will run the car. He won the Winston West race at California with a few weeks back. He'll start 11th alongside Kevin LePage. He'll count out Ward Burton. He'll start 13th. Ken Schrader starts in the top 20 for only the 3rd time this year from 20th spot. 21st is Elliott Sadler, but he wrecked big time at happy hour yesterday. He'll drop to the back in a backup car. Jeremy Mayfield will move up, as will Matt Kenseth. And the 31st starter going back through 40th as we take a look. Robert Presley and Jerry Nadeau. Kyle Petty makes his first start in a month. Terry Labonte starts the list of provisional taking drivers, along with Chad Little and Sterling Marlin and Jimmy Spencer. Final 3, Bobby Hamilton, Brett Bodine, and Ed Barrier had to take one. Drivers who failed to make it, only 3 this week. Only 46 cars towing to Michigan. Dave Marcus misses his 10th race. Ricky Craven's 5th. And DW, for the 3rd time, he gets another provisional in a week or 2. After 190 cars and nearly 45,000 fans showed up last week for the first dirt track show ever at Bristol, the Habitampa late models. Who knew what might happen when the biggest show on dirt rolled into Thunder Valley this weekend for the Channel Lock Classic? Pennzoil World of Outlaws last night. You saw it live here on TNN Sports. The 4-wide salute to the fans. If this doesn't give you chills, you need to check in for a heartbeat. When the green came out, 30 laps of pedal to the metal action last night. Mark Kinzer, your pole sitter. Donnie Schatz, like a shot out of a cannon, to take the early lead. Sammy to second. 3 laps in, cartwheeling kid Tyler Walker stops on the track in his new Ride to 10 car. 22 to go now. Battle at Bristol for third. Stevie Smith and Mark Kinzer. Smith goes high and wide. Gets by the Mopar car for the 3 spot. A lot of dust there. Out of nowhere, here comes the king, Steve Kinzer. Already by Swindell for second. He will knock off Schatz for the lead. But there would be caution again. Darren Pittman blows a tire. That brings everyone back to the king. Under caution, Donnie Schatz gets pushed back to the pits. A rock went through the radiator. He is finished for the night. And on the restart, as we take a look at the overheating engine in the 15, the 2 Dukes of Dirt will battle it out for the lead. Sammy blows by on the inside. The lead going down into 3. 5 laps are left. When the red flag brings caution and action on the track to a stop. Brian Paulus flips and goes up on the wing of the car. He's okay in the 28 up in the infield. Green flag again for the final 5 frenzied laps. Smith and Kinzer battling here for second. Give it to Stevie and the Black Band at the 19. But at the checkers, it's nobody but Sammy Swindell in the Channel Lock #1. Taking the Channel Lock Challenge at Bristol last night. His 3rd A-main win of the 2000 season. Sammy looks strong. Stevie Smith, Steve Kinzer, Mark Kinzer, and Dale Blaney your top 5. Jack Haudenschild with a good 6th. And how about youngster Danny Wood checkering 8th last night at Bristol. Now, point standings. This is after Friday night's preliminary night of action. Steve Kinzer still the leader by 87 over Mark. Stevie Smith sits 3rd. Then Sammy, he gained ground with that victory last night. Danny Lasowski having some problems. They're stuck in 5th in points. When race day returns, NASCAR's Busch Series regulars taming a bull ring yesterday afternoon. 300 laps in South Boston. A place where the driver with the cleanest car might be the one in Victory Lane. We'll tell you about it next. Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. And by Castrol Syntec, the active lubricant. We are back. The NASCAR Busch Series regulars in the meat of their schedule now, closing in on halfway in the 2000 season. A mix of tracks for the BGN stars. These next few races. There was Dover last week. 2 short track runs. South Boston yesterday. Myrtle Beach next Saturday night here on TNN Sports. And then the road course at Watkins Glen. Several drivers with a chance perhaps to make a move up in the standings, especially if they do well at the Glen. We take you, though, to Southern Virginia on Saturday afternoon. Casey Atwood, with his 2nd pole of the year, would lead them through lap 1. The Textilese Medique 300 yesterday. Todd Bodine 2nd in points, making some progress. Gets by Jason Keller here for 6th. Always lots of traffic at Sobo, claiming their first victim, lap 26. Bobby Hamilton Jr. maybe helped Jason Leffler into the wall in 2. And a crowded turn 2 would also claim Lyndon Amick's 35. A few seconds later, Phil Parsons can't get away. He will spin and pile in the 59. On the restart, Tony Raines puts the bumper to Casey. Casey checks up. Raines down low in the 33 with a lead for the first time. And behind, Todd Bodine, first of 2 racing deals for him, spinning the Phillips 66 Chevy and heavy traffic out of 4. Didn't spill too hard. And caught up in this turn 1 wreck with Ricky Hendrick and Wayne Grubb. Todd would end up 36th on the day. Lap 113, Randy LaJoie thrown into the spin cycle here by Mike Dillon. Most of the top cars pit for tires and fuel, but Raines stays out and leads as they get set for the restart. Bobby Hamilton Jr. and Bobby Hillin making up the top 3. Just past halfway, a little cozy on the 4/10 mile oval. Casey Atwood in the wall after a spin, no caution. While out in front, Jeff Green puts an end to Tony Raines' long run at the point, going to the head of the class on lap 170. Justin Labonte would get a tap from behind here and spin to the inside with a Slim Jim 44, collecting Kevin Grubb and Tom Hubert and Jason Schuler, and then Harvick. Wow, Raines would fight his way back into the top 3 with 50 laps to go. 3 seconds separating him from the first-place driver, Green. Despite a late race caution that allowed Raines to get right up on Green's back bumper, no getting by the chocolate milk machine. Jeff Green wins the 300-lapper to build on his point lead.
So Nesquik Chevy did it again. I tell you, we struggled a little bit this morning in practice, but Harold got with it, and I got with it, and we put our heads together and got this thing running good on long runs. I told you it's good on long runs, so that's what we got. Good track position, and you know, he was really good, but he had to use his stuff up through the traffic. So hats off to my guys.
Not necessarily the cleanest looking car that made it to victory lane at South Boston. Jeff Green's machine needs just a buff and a polish, though, before heading off to Myrtle Beach next Saturday. Unlike some of his counterparts, Tony Raines' best career finish over Elton Sawyer, Ron Hornaday, and a good run for Rich Bickle, 5th. He's had trouble qualifying several places this year. Now, with Jeff Green's 2nd win of the season, his margin over Todd Bodine nearly 250 points, 1 week short of halfway of the season. Jason Keller, Ron Hornaday, Kevin Harvick pretty much out of it now. Todd Bodine needs to win a couple of races to get back in the hunt. As sure a bet as you'll find in motorsports. You knew that somewhere this season, John Force would eclipse Bob Glidden's record of 85 national event wins in the NHRA. The inevitable victory last weekend in Joliet, Illinois, forced dispatching Jerry Tolliver for win number 86 in his storied career. John got his first taste of final round fever in the late 70s, but it was bitter. He would lose to Kenny Bernstein here in the finals of the Cajun Nationals. This is 1979, 21 years ago. John finally went north of the border to grab his first event win, knocking off Ed the Ace McCullough, who smoked him to win the 1987 Grand National at Saint-Air in Montreal. 13 years later, Force still the only drag racer ever to be named the overall motorsports driver of the year, and there are no signs that the Force Federation, headed up by ace tuners Austin Coyle and Bernie Federley, is planning to let up on the competition. Glidden owns another record that John Force badly wants. That would be 10 NHRA national championships. John has 9 funny car crowns, and number 10 looking pretty good, since John now tops the funny car points ladder. So this could be another record-setting year for the former trucker turned drag racing legend. Let's take a look at those point standings after the Chi-Town hustle last week. Gary Scelzi leads Top Fuel by Larry Dixon by 60 points. In funny car, Force's lead over Tolliver now 55. Gary Scelzi with 3 straight, leading 99 champ Tony Schumacher there. In Pro Stock, Jed Coughlin by 266 over the Professor. 6 wins in 2000 for the Jagster. And Angel Sealing with a tiny margin over Matt Hines. They get set, the NHRA stars do, to run Columbus in Ohio next weekend. Plenty more to come on race day. We'll head to Texas Motor Speedway. Check out the weekend double dip for the trucks of the Indy Racing League. The trucks get it done Friday. The IRL rain delayed to today. The trucking details are next. Back with our Mopar trivia question this race day. When was the last time a Winston Cup driver swept both Cup races at Michigan? It's happened 7 times over the years. We'll have the answer for you a little bit later on. Well, after an early race wreck at Daytona in the season opener for the NASCAR Craftsman trucks, defending series champ Jack Sprague has righted his ship in a big way, taking his Hendrick team to the top of the points battle this weekend on the strength of 3 straight wins. Jack wanted his 4th in a row Friday night at Texas Motor Speedway, a place where Sprague had never found victory lane in his truck career. Sprague starts this one a little further back than he's used to this year, 10th. Greg Biffle, the pole sitter, would lead on lap number 1. Mike Wallace on the move early as we watch Biffle in the Granger Ford. Here's Wallace starting 11th, moving to 3rd, picking off Roush rookie Kurt Busch as they go to 1. Just shy of lap 30, 2 guys I've never heard of. Jay Stewart and Patrick Lawler bang fenders out of 2. Stewart crash tests the inside wall. Green again. Biffle leads with Wallace right behind in 2nd. Sprague moves to 3rd. Going down into turn 3, Mike makes a move and takes the lead, dropping Biffle back to 2nd. Now Marty Houston started 4th. Loses the Spears 75, does a little agricultural running through the rain-soaked infield. It's a way to cool down, I suppose. Lap 50, here comes Biffle again. Granger Ford motors around Wallace, back to the point. Kurt Busch moves to 2nd spot. Dennis Setzer won this one last year. No repeat. Engine problems would sideline the Mopar Dodge. And the Killer Bees would play the perfect teammates on Friday night. Biffle will let Busch by to lead a lap and gain bonus points. Then it is Biffle back out in front. Green flag pit stops next up. Here's something you hardly ever see. A bad pit stop for Sprague and the GMAC team. Jack knocked back to 16th off this one. And there would be trouble for other drivers like Joe Ruttman. The Dana Dodge pilot tries to lap Randy McDonald. They touch, both go around. Ooh, not a place you want to spin. Can you believe it? More problems in the 24 pit. Temper starting to flare here. Jack finally gets back on the racetrack. Riding now with the leader, Mike Wallace. Here comes the pole starter, Biffle to the outside to roll into the lead. And Sprague's tough night would take one last turn for the worse. Inside 50 to go. Truck washes out, spins up high, collects the 46 of Rob Morgan. Morgan's best career run is over in that 2-truck pile up with less than 10 to go. A Roush 1-2 finish goes out the window. Kurt Busch would nail the outside wall, drop back to 6th, but that's all right. Biffle had more than enough to carry the banner by himself. Greg wins the 400-kilometer run, his first victory of the year.
Well, I don't know what happened to the 24 truck, but he had a bad race, and fortunately we had a really good race, so it's just, you know, hopefully we can hang on to it the rest of the season. I think we can. We're going to some of our better racetracks right now, and which is exciting for the whole team.
So Biffle's back in the chase with his first victory of the 2000 campaign. Wallace, Randy Tolsma, Andy Houston, and Brian Refner. Your top 5. Busch hangs on to 6th. Points chase looks like this. Just about halfway in the season, Biffle's back out in front by 14 over Sprague. Wallace 39 back. Andy Houston very much in it. Look at Kurt Busch, the rookie, just 121 points out for the truck stars. The Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, folks, nearly putting local rain gear stores out of business this weekend in North Texas. Rain has plagued the Lone Star State since Thursday, and as we saw, the trucksters were able to get their show in barely Friday night, but luck has not been on the side of the open wheelers. Their 500-kilometer event set for last night has been postponed until 1 o'clock today. Now, when they go green, drivers know they'll face a green racetrack with not much in the way of practice.
Well,
it really hurts it for somebody like us, you know, because unfortunately we had an accident on the first day of practice, so we haven't got to shake down our backup car. I think I've got like one lap at over 200 in it, so that really hurts it. And, you know, a lot of us haven't gotten, I don't think anybody here has got to run a full tank yet. So it's going to make the start of this race, whenever we get it in, pretty interesting. I mean, everybody's going to be really cautious the first couple of laps.
If the car unloads off the trailer really strong, it's not too much of a problem. We did that with our Pennzoil car. It came off the trailer here strong, so we ran well. We have good setups from last year. Won the first event, led the second one until a big crash. So we feel very strong that we got a good car here. And you know, we got a short day the first day, only about 10 or 15 laps before the rain came in. Everybody had just about an hour and 15 minutes yesterday. So I think by the time we get a warm-up in for 30 minutes, I think we'll be ready for race day.
We had quite a long second section, you know, it was an hour and 15 minutes. It's a lot longer than we usually do. So, I don't know, personally, I feel prepared. This mile-and-a-half track, we ran a lot of downforce, so I don't think it would be much of a problem, you know, to run a very short warm-up and go straight to the race.
Texas is probably the second hardest race that we do every year because of the banking, because of the bump and four, because of the humidity, and it's a tough one to get ready for. I mean, it's a grueling race because of the banking, and it's so physically difficult. It puts a lot of demands on the car, so it's a big test. This is, I would say, the dog days of summer start for us here in Texas. And if you want to win the championship, you have to do well in Texas.
It's already been a good weekend for Eddie Cheever. We'll tell you about that in a few moments. The field of 27 drivers will line up this afternoon according to points for the Casino Magic 500. That puts Buddy Lazier on the pole with Robbie Buell alongside. Scott Goodyear was quick in a morning warm-up this morning. Greg Ray, according to points, has to start 17th, his poorest starting spot of the season. Jacques Lazier will go 18th today. Final 7, Robbie Unser will make the show today, along with Davey Hamilton. Jimmy Kite goes 23rd. Doug Didero. Sarah Fisher has to start 25th, and Billy Rowe makes his first start of the year for a new team. More to come. Mother Nature finally giving way last Monday, allowing the kart stars to get in their Milwaukee Mile run, and boy, was it worth the wait for the folks in the Toyota camp. We'll show you the celebration.
Radio communications are provided by Racing Radios. For all of your radio communications needs, as well as scanners, call on Racing Radios at 1-800-669-1522. Mack Trucks are furnished by Clement Chevy Mack Sales. For all your truck and tractor needs, call Clement at 1-800-369-MACK.
Hi, Jeff Burton for LA West Luxury Vehicles. First in quality and the only choice for the Burtons.
LA West Luxury Vehicles, available nationwide from select Ford dealers. Call us at 1-800-786-VANS.
Mentioned that we are just back from Louisville, Kentucky, where the ASA AC Delco Series stars hauled to Louisville Motor Speedway last night for an old-fashioned Saturday night short track shootout. Now, you'll see the AC Delco Service Specialist 300 here tonight on TNN Sports at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific time. It was your normal bumping and banging shootout. We'll show you just the key moment, just a sample, what it came down to last lap. Ricky Johnson leading in the 22, Butch Miller in the 52 right behind, Johnny Sauter in the 01 third. Butch gives Ricky the bump and run as they go down the backside. Butch takes the lead to take the point. Now watch what Ricky Johnson will do here. They come up on the slower car of Scott Hansen. Ricky says, hey, I've run the Baja in one. I'm going through the dirt. Slams into Hansen. Other cars wreck behind. Butch Miller scores his first ASA win since returning to the Tour this year. Just a sample of the carnage that we saw last night at Louisville. One of the wildest short track finishes I've ever seen in 30 years of being around this sport. We will hear from Butch and Ricky Johnson a little later. You can catch all 300 laps of wild action here tonight. Your top 10, Butch Miller over Johnson, Kevin Sawinski, and Rick Beebe, who had to start at the back last night. Dave Sensiva, too, soldiering on for a nice fifth ahead of Joey Clinton, Robbie Pyle, Chad Wood, Paul Dallenbach, and Tim Sauter. Your point chase, 6 races complete. Pole sitter Gary St. Amant holds on to the lead with just 43 points to the good over Sawinski. Tim Sauter, the defending champ, third, then Brandon Sperling and Mike Miller. Again, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific tonight. Catch all the action here. It took him until Monday afternoon to get the Miller Lite 225 into the books for the Kart Champ cars, but if you're a Kart fan or if you're affiliated with Toyota, a couple of more hours probably didn't matter. After waiting nearly 3.5 seasons trying to get win #1 in Kart, Juan Montoya put the Toyota Ganassi machine on his 3rd pole of the year. Each of the 3 times those races have been delayed by weather. Maybe there's a theme here. So finally, 2:30 Monday afternoon, they cut it loose. Montoya leading from the get-go Monday afternoon, actually. First caution of the day here when the car of Shinji Nakano, the Japanese native, loses it off of 4, ends up sidelined on the side of the front straightaway over early for Shinji. Another incident in the pits for a kart team. This time the Forsyth Players team of Alex Tagliati. You can't see it. The fuel release man has trouble, sprays fuel, You don't see the flames, but the car's on fire. They douse Tagliani with water, put the flames out. Alex is okay, but the car's not. Trouble for Tarso Marquez. Spins and belts the wall in turn one. Picture's not available in the spin, so we'll just show you Tarso sitting there. Late in the race, Montoya still dominating, but fingers are crossed, hoping the Toyota engine dependability bug doesn't strike. Michael Andretti charging late, cuts the lead down to 1 second and change. Is there enough time for Michael? No. Montoya out of 4 to the stripe. His Toyota running just like your Camry. The kart champion gives the engine maker their first trip to victory lane in 3.5 years. The young Brazilian's first kart win of 2000, 8 days after winning the Indy 500. 5th time the double has been done. Tracy is still the point leader. Moreno, though, very close in second. Jimmy Vasser only 11 out. Michael and Juan Montoya tied for 4th. This week, the road race on the streets of Belle Isle in Detroit. After Milwaukee, most of the kart teams headed to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for testing Wednesday and Thursday. Surprising atop the charts after 2 days, the Penske Reynards of Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves. De Ferran running almost 125 miles an hour around the 2.25-mile permanent road course. Close third on the stopwatches would be a somewhat under the weather Dario Franchitti. The Scot has had trouble in a big way getting going in 2000, trying to back up his runner-up spot in the 99 points chase. Next week's stop in Detroit, a place that the Team Cool Green driver knows plenty well after winning there last year. Now, Franchitti is licking his chops. The series puts the ovals behind them for the time being. They'll head to the street and road courses for the next couple of events. Franchitti's excited about going to Detroit.
Got to make some hay somewhere, so now's as good a time as any. You know, in Milwaukee, it wasn't a bad race. We fought a loose car, but you know, 6th place. We're getting back into the points race slowly, I guess. But yeah, it's time. You know, it's our tracks now. The car has historically worked very well here, and I enjoy the road courses. So, you know, we'll try and score some serious points from now on in.
The kart stars do go to Belle Isle in Detroit next week for the Tenneco Grand Prix along the shores of the Detroit River. May well be the last Detroit event on that island course. We'll see what the future holds for the Detroit Grand Prix. Team Penske showing they are ready for the road course portion of the kart schedule. De Ferran and Castroneves at the top of the charts. De Ferran 124.275 miles an hour. There you see Franchitti, Christian Fittipaldi, and Max Pappas, your top 5. Helio Castroneves was 6th quick, Michael Andretti 9th, and Kenny Breck in 10th after the 2 days of testing. Quick timeout on race day as we head to the crossed flags. Log on to our website, www.country.com. All your motorsports informational needs, stats and info from Winston Cup, ASA, the Outlaws, the IHRA, and plenty more. Hey, strap in. It's time for the second half hour of race day.
Rick, so far in 2000, the Pontiacs are out in front of the Winston Cup standings. Here in Michigan, it's the Grand Prix rear end causing a stir. That story coming up.
Point lead changes hands this weekend to the NASCAR Craftsman trucks after Friday night's round at Texas Motor Speedway, where Biffle left them baffled. And could it be Earnhardt versus Earnhardt Part 2 for the IROC win Saturday at Michigan? We'll show you a full round of bump drafting. $100,000 up last night for one dirt late model driver superstar. At Balta's legendary Eldora Speedway, a dreamy night for one of the sport's veteran hands. All that and more straight ahead in the second half hour of race day. It is good to have you with us on this Sunday. So the Winston Cup stars making their first of 2 trips to the Irish Hills of Michigan this weekend, a track that has seen fuel mileage come into play many times. But this time NASCAR's thrown something new into the mix, giving Pontiac teams help out back, letting them change the rear end bodywork of their Grand Prix. Many say it wasn't necessary after Tony Stewart dominated at Dover last Sunday, but this weekend his teammate Bobby Labonte added some fuel to the fire, blistering Michigan Friday to win the pole, running nearly 190 miles an hour. Let's head back to Michigan, see if Sean Pagano can shed some more light on this latest case of dueling opinions in the Winston Cup garage.
Tony Stewart's been fast all year. Bobby Labonte's been fast all year. Ward's been fast all year. Then they give them some help. It is tough to swallow.
They're 1-2 in points, but starting here in Michigan, the Pontiacs have a rule change. A new rear bumper cover. It's wider, shorter, and more square, resulting in more downforce. Minus the drag, that equals speed. And here in the garage area, that has many barking about the Grand Prix bite.
NASCAR did something that's really fairly unprecedented.
Just question it. I just wonder if it was a trigger that was pulled a little bit quick or a little bit too soon.
You know, I want to talk to them about it. I don't know what they're going to say about this. Pontiacs obviously are competitive. They've been doing a great job. They're leading into points, and I gave them something. I don't know why they did that.
I don't expect anybody to say anything less. I mean, but it's pretty obvious. We've got a 1997 model car here, you know, racing against 2000 model Fords and Chevys, and you know, if NASCAR wants parity and equalization among the brands, you know, it's only right that they give the Pontiac a little something to bring it up to speed.
This may just be what Pontiac is looking for to become competitive on the bigger tracks. And although they've scored 3 wins in 2000, none of those wins have come on tracks bigger than a mile long.
The faster you go, the more the air's working, so it's going to show up more here. But if we didn't get it, we were going to look really bad here because, you know, with 200 pounds less downforce on a Ford or a Chevy, you can't afford to give that kind of downforce up on a series that's this tough and competitive right now.
But I mean, it's just a deal where I think it's something, and you know, maybe it's a lot of it's in your mind too. So you know, we're glad we have it, and we know that we're hopefully be a little bit better with it.
A lot of times, if you change something big, you'll actually feel a difference, and I can't feel any difference right now. It's too early to tell anything right now. We got to get some weeks under our belt and some track, you know, race conditions under different track conditions, and we'll be able to start to tell something.
I guess if I put my Pontiac hat on, I'd be saying, screaming and yelling, hey, we need something. But gosh, just last week, Tony Stewart led almost half the race and beat us like a drum.
Well, we'll see how it plays out this afternoon. The Pontiacs, no doubt, will be strong at Michigan. Now, key news of the week in NASCAR's top series. Add Melling Racing to the growing list of Winston Cup teams that'll use Dodge sheet metal and motors next year. At Michigan Friday, confirmation that Stacy Compton and Melling Racing will don the new Dodge colors using the number 92 on their Kodiak machines after Melling gave up the longtime car number 9 to Bill Elliott and Ray Evernham for next year. Melling will use 9 the second time around, making the number 92. But no matter the number on the side, Melling's current driver likes the prospect of joining the Dodge bunch for 2001.
This is a 5-year deal with Dodge, with Melling, and that's huge. I mean, when you've got a manufacturer that's going to be behind a team the way Dodge is going to be behind us, it's going to be big for Melling, it's going to be huge for me as well.
After weeks of speculation, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated announcing Friday they've come to terms with Steve Park and Pennzoil for 2 more years and an option for a 3rd. Park says the team is closing in on its first victory. Taking his name off the driver's open market list should help the team stay focused this season.
Having the opportunity to get a contract done so early on in the year really is beneficial to the whole team to just really get back to concentrating the rest of the year on doing what you need to do, and that's win races. And it's also pretty exciting to know that you're not going to be a part of that big silly season at the end of the year.
And a familiar face wandering the garage area at Michigan this week. Target Chip Ganassi scout Andy Graves getting acquainted with the folks at Team Sabco prior to the transfer of power between those 2 teams. As we told you a couple of weeks ago, Ganassi looking to get into Winston Cup later this summer. What better way to do it than to acquire an already up-and-running race team? They'll take control of Team Sabco shortly.
I believe they're getting pretty close to a deal. I'm up here hanging out with my buddy Tony Glover and seeing what's going on and see if I can get in the way a little bit. So nothing's official yet, and hopefully here pretty quick we'll have something wrapped up.
Graves, fresh off helping Chip Ganassi win the Indy 500, will bring 10 years of Cup experience at Hendrick Motorsports, the Ganassi operation when they take over Sabco, perhaps by July. Now, back to the Outlaws in Bristol. After the dust had settled last night at Thunder Valley and the 40,000 fans in attendance had started to make their way home, our Bobby Gerald caught up with the man there calling the first Outlaw to win on the concrete dirt high banks.
Well, the first ever World of Outlaws event at the Bristol Motor Speedway has now been completed, and the winner is Sammy Swindell. And Sammy, I know I had to be very sweet for you, not only to get the win, but to do it here in your home state of Tennessee.
Yeah, it was great. This is an awesome place, and that Channel Lock Stealth, that was you know, a great car to drive. You know, wish we could have swept the thing both days. I think we had the car, just got, you know, last night in the wrong place, but we'll take the one tonight and go down the road, and hopefully we'll come back here again.
Now, they made you earn it a little bit tonight because in the heat race, you were starting on the front row. You had a false start and had to go to the back, or at least had to move back a row, but you were still able to win that race. Tell me about that and what your emotions were like at that point.
Well, just I was pretty disappointed in the call. You know, it's just, you know, I'd rather see if they're going to do that stuff, that, you know, the guy that's going to make the call shouldn't be up here, you know, quarter, half mile away. They need to be down there in the corner. You know, Butch got to shoving a little bit, and then we took off, and I don't know if he had a problem with his motor or it stumbled or what, but next thing I knew, he was backing up, and I kind of waited and waited, but if you wait too long, a guy will get a run on you, and you know, I don't know. I can't make the call. I can just sit in the car and give you my opinion.
Early in the race, some good dicing with Steve Kinzer. You were chasing Donnie Schatz. You had Stevie Smith in back. You had all these things going on. And at the same time, very busy because of the high speeds here at the track. Your overall impressions of Bristol here after the first race?
Well, it's a great place. It was a lot of room to race on, and it had a few different grooves, you know, that some of the guys were running. The one I liked was up at the top, and my car worked great up there. And we were able to use a lot of things, you know, the draft, the momentum, and just was able to pull it right off.
Well, you were fantastic tonight. Made a lot of fans here in Tennessee very happy, as he will go down in the history books as the first ever A-main winner at the Bristol Motor Speedway.
All right, thanks, Bobby Joe. Congratulations to Sammy for a big win last night. This week, more action on TNN Sports. The Outlaws head to Heartland Park, Topeka, the temporary dirt track on top of the drag strip there. It'll be Saturday night. We'll have highlights for you next Sunday. When race day rolls on, we'll check out Saturday's round 3 for the IROC runners. 1 to go this year. 12 of the top drivers battling out for the IROC championship. The Michigan Lowdown coming up. Show you who was quick yesterday at happy hour. Final practice for the Winston Cup Stars in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going for his 3rd points-paying win of the year. Lines up 6th, and he was the fastest driver. Matt Kenseth hoping to back up his Charlotte win. He was 2nd quick. Jeff Gordon was 6th fast. Tony Stewart 9th, and Rusty, who's always good at Michigan, 10th. He starts 4th this afternoon. And, of course, the race starts at 1 o'clock today. Well, as we told you earlier, a great short track tussle last night for the AC Delco ASA Series stars on the Louisville Motor Speedway asphalt. And after all the beating and banging was done, our Bob Diller caught up with a very happy winner in Victory Lane.
Let's just call it a marathon of mayhem here in Louisville, Kentucky. The survivor, Butch Miller. What a wild finish, Butch.
You know, I never, ever expected to come in first. You know, we came here, and I says, guys, let's just give this week away. Just let me run the race. And I said, we'll go racing next week. This week, just let me finish. Man, I never believed it, but we had a fast car. And it was exciting. I just love it, but I love the win. But give my druthers, if I could, I'd go sit in the grandstands instead of sit out there and drive that stupid thing.
Butch Miller with his 40th career ASA win, but the battles just behind him on that last lap were just as exciting.
We're on a short track here at Louisville. It's a tough track to pass. I got into Johnny early in the race, and he was pointing at me, and he was mad at me. So I figured right there at the end that he would retaliate, and he did. He got into me all the way around the back straightaway. And Butch seems to think that I might have messed up my front a little bit, but I think just from that slide, I missed this turn a little bit. Butch got underneath me, and then I was kind of at his mercy. I was on the inside, so as we're going around, I see him checking up to go to the inside, and then I saw him shot to the outside, and I saw him shoot to the outside. And I thought, well, hopefully maybe these guys would not know he was there, move into him, and so I went to the inside. Unfortunately for me, when they came down, I shot through the grass. I got to keep it straight, at least slide through the finish line. But, you know, I got to congratulate Butch. He had a great race. You know, they just, they hit it. They hit the mark tonight, and I came up 1 lap short.
Hanson and Johnny Sauter and a host of others caught up in the wreck. By the way, we are told late word, Tristan Dupuis and Johnny Sauter, who ran very well last night, were disqualified after the race. You can catch the entire thing tonight here on TNN Sports, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific. Steve Burns, Bob Dillner, and me calling the action for you. Hope you can join us for that broadcast tonight at 11 o'clock. Well, the prelude to today's Winston Cup feature, the running of round 3 of the International Racing Champions Series on the 2-mile Michigan Speedway Oval yesterday. Leading the field to green, the IRL heavy front row of Mark Dismore and Greg Ray, but when they come to the stripe, Ray would find himself shuffled back pretty quickly. And his in-car gets freight trained back to 6th. Point leader Dale Earnhardt on the move early. Takes Dale just 5 laps to go from last to first. He blows by Eddie Cheever in the bright red machine. Cheever, though, not giving up. A couple of KG veterans battle it out for the top spot. Watching it here from Dale Jr.'s in-car. He sits in 3rd waiting. At 14, watch the Pontiac of Cheever. Battling with Earnhardt off of turn 2. The former Indy winner has all he can handle. Not correct. Ow, nice save. Only yellow of the day. This is Greg Ray losing the handle in his machine. Greg spins off turn 4. No damage there. Sets up a restart with 35 laps to go. Looks like a replay of last year's Michigan race. Earnhardt Jr. reaching into the old man's playbook a little bit, giving Daddy a whole front stretch worth of love taps. Jr. looking very racy here. Dad might want to pull the car keys for that one. The other Mr. IROC is Mark Martin. Gets his green machine going. He and Eddie Cheever will draft by the Intimidator. Martin still looking for win number 1 this year in IROC. Younger Earnhardt wants to get back up into the mix. He blows his light green Pontiac by Cheever for 2nd. Sets his sights on Martin. Then it's Daddy helping Dale Jr. get alongside the 4-time IROC champ Martin, who Better to use the draft to their advantage than the Earnhardt's father and son, junior and senior, take over the top 2 spots as they go 4 wide here down the back straightaway. 18 to go now, and Eddie Cheever will power his way back to the point around junior. Cheever looking for his first career IROC victory after leading a handful of laps at the last event at Talladega. 8 to go. Earnhardt gets back by Martin for the runner-up spot. Does he have enough time to catch up to Cheever? No. Eddie Cheever powers his way to victory lane at Michigan, winning round 3 of the 2000 campaign of the International Race of Champions.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed coming down here. Those are some of the hardest racing drivers I've ever driven against, and the series lets you do that. You can get a little bit carried away and pick it up. I hit Earnhardt by mistake once. Anybody else, I probably knocked him out. He went by and he said, okay, so I figured, all right, there's not a death warrant on my head yet, so I can keep on going.
So the former kart and Formula One driver and IRL star wins his first IROC event, stealing some thunder from the NASCAR boys. Tony Stewart, Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Dale Jarrett, your top 5. Bobby Labonte is 6th. 1 race left of the season. Earnhardt is still the point leader by 12 over Mark Martin and Bobby Labonte. Stewart tied for 3rd with his teammate. Eddie Cheever sits 5th. Earnhardt, obviously the favorite to win the title when they wrap up the season at the Brickyard in a couple of weeks. Time to take a break. When we return back to the dirt, the Big E in Rossburg, Ohio. Earl Baltus had the brakes struck out again last night, trying to make one late model driver richer than his wildest dreams. Our Mopar trivia answer. We asked you earlier when the last time was that a Winston Cup driver swept both events in Michigan in the same season. The answer would be today's pole sitter. How about Bobby Labonte in 1995? That was the 7th time the trick had been turned at Michigan Speedway. Well, after a day and a night that looked like it would be a washout thanks to Mother Nature, the NASCAR Craftsman truckers put on a great show Friday night at Texas Motor Speedway, and I'm sure Greg Biffle is more than happy that he waited out the rain to get his Ranger Ford into victory lane for the first time this year and to the top of the points parade as well. Our Jeff Taylor wraps up the truck tussle from the Longhorn State.
Friday night shootout at the Texas Motor Speedway was beneficial for some drivers, but very costly for some others. Jack Sprague took the biggest hit of the night. 2 bad pit stops and a wreck with Rob Morgan on lap 122 cost him the points lead.
We ran out of gas and got a lap down trying to get it started back up in the pits. And my truck was really unpredictable around other trucks, and I just was on the outside and I got loose and tried to get it back and got in the fence coming off too a little bit and got clobbered from the behind, but I was already wrecked. I mean, you know, I just lost it.
All I remember is Sprague coming across the racetrack. I don't know if he lost it or somebody tapped him. I mean, Sprague doesn't usually just lose it. He must have got hit or something. And he was coming across the racetrack, and it was one of those deals. I mean, I just didn't have anywhere to go.
2 of the big winners on the night had to be Andy Houston and Brian Reffner. Houston wrecked his primary truck during happy hour on Thursday, so he had to go to the back of the pack. No problem, however, he came home with a top 10 finish, while Brian Reffner ran impressively all night long and posted his 8th consecutive top 10 finish.
You know, that's what we needed. I mean, we need to get out of here with the top 5 after the weekend we've had. I felt really bad about crashing that truck last night in happy hour, and this truck drove a little better tonight than that one was driving before, but still not right. I think the new Speedway rules that we had here, they pampered us a little bit. I don't know if they gave us too much drag or too much front downforce or something, but fought loose in the corner all night long, and we kept adjusting on it. Guys had great pit stops, so, you know, we'll take it.
We had 2 DNFs to start the year out, so, you know, we got to go have consistency and finish these races because, you know, we don't want no more DNFs, and the team's strong and just keeps pulling the same direction. We'll have them.
After almost winning the last race at Evergreen out on the West Coast, Randy Tolsma had another great run. He posted his 2nd consecutive top 5 finish.
You know, to come back with 2 top 5s in 2 weeks, and, you know, we ran so well all year, and to begin to put the finishes together with how we're running is what we needed, and we're pretty pleased.
Finally, they say consistency wins championships. Mike Wallace has been consistent all season long. He finished 2nd Friday night at Texas.
You got to finish in the top 5, top 10, top 5s every week almost to win a championship. I mean, and this team is very capable of doing that. We just had 2 bad weeks, you know, at Pikes Peak in Seattle last week, but, you know, the top 10 performances we had, the 2 wins, and we just rebounded back here tonight, run 2nd, go to Kentucky, and try to do the same thing and better.
Reporting from the Texas Motor Speedway, Jeff Taylor for TNN RaceDay.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. As Mike Wallace mentioned, the trucks will christen the brand new Kentucky Speedway next Saturday, 1.5 mile, big track. We'll have all the action, all the highlights for you next Sunday on race day. Back to the dirt now. The original high bank fast track, the lightning fast Eldora Speedway in Ohio, hosting the annual Dream for the late models last night. $100,000 to win. Kevin Claycomb would have the pole in the blue 28 for the 7th running of the Dream. Former winner Freddie Smith in the 00 would pick it up quickly on the outside. Smith jumping the lead here. Ray Cook in the blue and white 53, the car on the move early, going by Matt Miller in the white 29 to take third. Ray came from 5th spot, lap 45 now, almost halfway. Cook working on Kevin Claycomb for 2nd. Ray takes the spot right at start finish, starts to reel in or try to Freddie Smith, but Freddie would not be caught. The Knoxville, Tennessean Motors unchallenged to the victory. He is the first repeat winner of the dirt late model Dream. Freddie Smith in the 00, your winner last night. Earl Baldus on hand to present the $100,000 check to the winner. Ray Cook 2nd, Wendell Wallace 3rd. The Dream at Eldora. Of course, the big one coming up there, the Kings Royal, and then the $1 million to win late model show at Eldora later this season. Time for one last time out on race day. We will drop the checkers when race day returns. Keep it right here. We've got more to tell you. Check out the finish order from the NASCAR Featherlight Modifieds at Riverhead Raceway on Long Island yesterday. Jerry Marquis grabbing the checkers, first time in 4 years, beating Rick Fuller and Tim Conley last night at the tiny short track on Long Island. The ARCA short track stars going on the big track this week. The ARCA Bondo Marhide machines running at Michigan in the Flagstar 200. Tim Steele picks up his 3rd career win at Michigan over David Keith. Kerry Earnhardt with a strong run. Also almost made it to victory lane. Brian Ross and Bob Strait, the rest of your top 5. Some big news from the folks at GM Powertrain. The Vortec 5700 engine that's made its racing debut with the ASA AC Delco machines this year will make its premier run in the Pikes Peak Hill Climb coming up the 4th of July weekend. Herzog Motorsports, which fields cars in the ASA for Ricky Johnson and Mark E. Dismore, helping out the effort. Johnson is the ASA Rookie of the Year from 1999. He's an off-road champion, though. He's done some testing on the peak out in Colorado in the last couple of days. The Hill Climb run will be the first for GM Powertrain and the folks at ASA. We will let you know how it turns out. Time to take a break, but as we pause, here's what's racing ahead on television tonight, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific for the ASA from Louisville. Before we leave you, time to check for the latest buzz from the Michigan garage area. Let's go back to Sean Pagano.
Rick, we told you earlier in the show that Melling Racing and driver Stacy Compton will make a switch to Dodge in 2001. Well, the buzz here in Michigan is that Dodge isn't finished there. Expect a big team to make its announcement switching to Dodge this summer.
All right, we will watch for that. Thanks, Sean Pagano. That's going to do it for this edition of Race Day. We are back next week at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific live to set up our TNN Sports live coverage of the Pocono 500 Winston Cup round next Sunday. We'll have highlights from the Busch Series Saturday night at Myrtle Beach, the ASA Short Track Stars in Iowa next Saturday afternoon, live here on TNN Sports. The Outlaws as well. They'll be live on TNN next weekend from Heartland Park, Topeka. Also, we'll be covering kart in the Detroit Grand Prix. It's a full plate as always. Join us for dinner here next Sunday on Race Day. Have a great week.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. And by Featherlight, the official trailer of NASCAR, CART, IRL, NHRA, ASA, and World of Outlaws. Remember to call Featherlight for all your trailer and motor coach needs at 800-800-1230. You for all race fan families. Introducing the Simpson Child Car Safety Seat, available soon at these racing places. For more information, visit our website at www.simpsonraceproducts.com.